knew anything about Clevinger, but I posted, would you sign Trevor Bauer? And it was almost split.
Oh, wow. That's perfect. Why don't we
the other one was that Glibber Torres trade, but it's not even worth talking about right now. I think it's,
forget that. Why don't we do the Clevinger asshole of the week, Clevinger discussion, and then that leads right into the poll because we'll talk. Bauer will definitely come up during that conversation.
Yeah,
that'll lead to asshole poll and then final grades.
All right, cool. And then are we going to kick off with Sox Fest then? Is that what you're thinking, or just you're going to fit it in somewhere?
I mean, do you have a lot to say about it?
No, other than I think it's cowardly that they don't have one. I mean,
I was just going to mention it in the intro before we get into the news.
Yeah.
But
that's cool. Yeah. Okay. So you're not thinking like it's a whole. There's nothing really to say. No,
I had a whole segment on it.
No, I don't. You just had it on the list, so like it was like whatever. Okay, cool.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. All right, sweet.
All right, rock and roll.
All right, it's good to be back. Maybe. We'll see how I feel after this show. Might be too therapeutic. I may cry before it's over. Okay, you ready?
I am.
All right. Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to a Word Hole Media presentation of me.
You can just start off.
What do we normally say? Major League A-hole Sox type thing, right? Yeah, that's what we say, right?
I think
I had a blank. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's all right. We haven't done it in weeks, so we haven't done it since last year.
Since last year, man.
Jesus.
December 13th or something like that, right?
It was the 13th. You looked this shit up, didn't you?
I did, because I was like, I looked up the notes because I'm like, what did we even fucking talk about? I'm like, okay, we have talked about new managers and shit like that. So okay, cool. All right, let's try this again.
All right.
Hey, how's everyone doing out there? Welcome to a Word Hole Media presentation of Major League A-holes Sox type thing. I'm Pete.
I'm Ryan. You are listening to Sox Type Thing, presented by Revolution Brewing. By the way, you just took a sip there of some anti-hero, I think.
Yeah, it's delicious as always. The #1 rated IPA in the Chicagoland area.
By the way, happy birthday to Revolution Brewing Company. They opened their doors in February of 2010. So this would be their 13th birthday, if my math is correct. So
it is. I think they're bringing back some originals that they may not do anymore this year in honor of that. So
wow, you have to grab me some. Stock up. I'll be in Chicago in a couple weeks, I believe. So save me some.
Maybe.
So yeah, happy birthday to those folks. We are back with episode 17 of Sox Type Thing. Wow, it's been at least 6 weeks, I think, since we did our last podcast. Took the holidays off. It is now February 1st. We are less than 2 weeks away from pitchers and catchers reporting.
Woo!
It's time to talk some fucking baseball.
Yeah, man. Get this back on a somewhat of a regular cadence, right?
Yeah, Jesus. It's been an eventful offseason for your Chicago White Sox, even though they chose not to hold their major offseason event, Sox Fest. Do you ever attend Sox Fest? Have you ever been to that?
You know, like it's usually like over my birthday weekend, so it doesn't really play out well from like, hey, no, we're not doing anything, family. I'm going to Sox Fest. But also, like, I don't know, standing in line to get someone's signature and then listening to a bunch of blowhards. Like, I can get everything I'm going to get at Sox Fest on Twitter. There's no reason to go there. So, yeah, I mean, I don't know. It doesn't really appeal to me. I'm not a big, like, I don't like going to the car show. I don't like doing shit like that. So,
oh my God, get out of your house once in a while.
I like music fests. I go to concerts and baseball games.
Well, it was obviously way too dangerous to have Sox Fest this year. So
it was way too dangerous.
We've had some good news and some signings. We've had some bad news with some signings. We have some almost borderline tragic news. I don't know if we want to go that far, but really bad news for Liam Hendriks. But so yeah, it's kind of been a roller coaster of an offseason. So I guess that's a long enough intro. So why don't we just go ahead and jump into the news?
Well, the White Sox handed out their biggest contract ever, a 5-year, $75 million deal to Andrew Benintendi.
Wow.
Interesting way to spend your highest contract ever, I think.
It's still amazing to me. I mean, even the Tigers they've been giving out $75 million deals for decades now. So
yeah, they've handed out big ass deals. So
did you ever dream, your wildest dreams, your biggest contract ever would be going to one Andrew Benintendi of all people?
No, I dreamed it would go to maybe Aaron Judge.
I think I remember you dreaming about that on the show. In fact,
I sometimes have been seen saying Aaron Judge and Wright in my sleep, but it didn't happen. Yeah, I mean, here's the way I look at it. He's a solid, like, well-rounded player. He kind of he can get you stats in all the categories. He's a plus outfielder, but he only works if there's a 180-degree turnaround from the way everyone else performed on the White Sox last year. And that's the only way the signing really works for the Sox. Is he fits in great if Tim Anderson, Luis Robert, Eloy Jiménez, Yasmani Grandal all stay on the field and all get the numbers they're supposed to get. Yohan Moncada, almost left him out. If that doesn't happen, then I mean he'll help keep the errors down in the outfield, but it's just going to be a nice addition that isn't able to fit in well because he's not going to add any lost power from those other guys I just mentioned, and that's what I was hoping for. I was hoping for perhaps they bring in a true power hitter to sort of get that fun little rivalry going and make sure everyone's like, hey, boom, boom, boom. It's contagious, right? And that's not what they did. Again, fine signing, but
solid signing. It's kind of strange that it's your biggest signing ever, certainly biggest signing of this offseason. But I think I see your point. I think that's a reasonable way to look at it. The confounding thing to me, though, is I thought you were going to be getting a right fielder of sorts or something. You got a left fielder where you had to place your star Eloy Jiménez, stash him away over in left field so he doesn't hurt himself. But this now puts him into a DH and potentially a right field role, which is shocking to many people. We've heard your manager, Pedro Grifol, speak of Eloy playing in right field. Eloy says, I think he said he doesn't even want a DH. He wants to be the right fielder, which seems, I guess I can understand why he wouldn't want to be a full-time DH, but a guy that you had to hide in left field, exposing him in right field seems like you're compounding the problem somehow. So I'm just confounded. I'm confounded by the essentially the roster construction. How do you think they're going to be using Eloy? That's complicated by Yasmani Grandal, which is your catcher, but he's going to have to play a significant time at DH too to keep him healthy. How do you think they balance that? How does that work?
Well, I am when those words came out of Pedro Grifol's mouth, if I had been driving a car, I probably would have driven off the road.
I think your sentiment is shared by many out there.
When you take an individual to everything you said, you articulated was perfect. And then he didn't even play his native position well. You want to stick him in right field, where he's never played. Well, I don't know. Maybe he's had a handful of games there in the minors or some shit, but it's not a regular position for him.
No,
it just screams injury again.
Well,
and it also screams porous outfield.
Yeah,
if you hit the ball to the right side, which is going to be a lot more balls going to right with the shift not happening now.
That's where I was going with this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I've always been under the assumption that right field is a more difficult position to play than left field even. just because you have to make the long throws to third base every so often. It's just, I don't know. I'm not exactly sure how your right field plays compared to left field in general, but just the general consensus is right field is more difficult. So you're putting your worst outfielder and injury prone outfielder into a more precarious position, in a more critical position. And I think it seems like you're getting worse, and you're creating a more dangerous situation for your star player.
Yeah, and then you're in this like platoon situation again, right? Everyone, like Oscar Colas has been invited to camp. Everyone's thinking he is going to be on the roster and playing right field. Then you also got Gavin Sheets hanging out still, who is probably, well, right now we do. I mean, unless some sort of trade happens, but obviously, oddly enough, he's probably a better right fielder option than Eloy, and that's not saying much. So it's again it's a bit of a confusing off season overall. I mean, not to steer the conversation elsewhere, but you kind of have a hole at second base too, which oddly enough means if there's a hole at second, there'll be more balls in right field. But thank you.
Why don't we just put Eloy at second? I mean, we've said all along anybody can play second base, so who cares?
Yeah, I see him just turning an ankle on the double play, like the first time he attempts
first day. Yes, for sure.
Anyone can play second.
Do you trade Eloy? Is it? Are they trying to build up his value somehow? Like, he can play right field and hope he doesn't get hurt for the first 2 months, and then trade him at some point. Is that what they're doing? That's the only thing I could think of. Like this.
I don't know, but the roster construction right now is very reminiscent of last offseason.
Wait, and you had to dump your best hitter, Jose Abreu, to kind of clear things up. And now I feel like you're right back to square one, and minus Abreu in favor of Andrew Benintendi. So
yeah, when they signed Benintendi, I thought they were going to ask him to move to right.
That's what I think a lot of people thought, but that doesn't seem to be the case.
So I got nothing. I really don't. I'm as confused as you.
We're just podcasters. We don't have to have the answers. So.
I'm also I'm terrified because I was thinking of Eloy, DHing like 99% of the time and staying on the field all year, staying in the lineup all year. Because
that's clearly the safest way to do it.
He may not want to DH, but he adjusted to it fine. I mean, I think we talked about it I know I did talk about it on here at the end of the season. I mean, his full season projections are like 41 home runs on the pace he was, hitting. So
you never have trouble with the projections for Eloy. It's just having him on the field.
It's keeping him on the field. So he just needs to stay in the lineup. Maybe on the field's the wrong word. He just needs to stay in the lineup.
Yeah.
Only on the field for hitting. So I don't know. Maybe he can be like a relief pitcher or something.
Well, you brought up second base too. Where was it? Romy Gonzalez?
Romy Gonzalez and
Garcia
and Lennon Sosa. Well, I'm also I think you saw my post. You said surely there's an Adam out there somewhere, but everyone starting speculating. We were trading back for Madrigal or Nicky Lopez, and I'm like, well, first of all,
Nicky Lopez
is just Luray Garcia. We don't need another fucking one of those.
We don't need to rebuild the Kansas City Royals on the south side of Chicago.
That's the other thing. That's not what we need. I mean, unless you want to go get Salvador Perez, I'm okay with that. But
I've heard
that's a different story. That's a different story, though.
Yes,
but
that would solve a lot of issues. Actually,
but sure would.
I'm not sure the Royals would be amicable.
I don't think so, but I'm ready. I'll take it. Come on over.
All right, here we go. Eloy for Salvador Perez. Oh,
it's
you heard it here first, folks. I mean, I don't know if I don't see why the Royals would be interested in that. I'm not sure you guys would be necessarily, but
I think they would be interested in Perez for Grandel straight up.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I
don't know. Eloy for Perez. I don't know. Perez is older.
He is older.
He's gonna start. It's gonna be the same Eloy issue. He's gonna be injured too. So
yeah, you do need a backup catcher though.
Yeah.
I just solved problems right there. So
there you go. So thanks for solving the problems.
Here for it,
Smitty GM. Yeah. So I don't
Nick
know.
Madrigal. I mean, I find that hilarious. I think the Cubs would jump at that because we seem to be all right in
you're fine
up the middle at least, and Madrigal hasn't done a whole lot. And maybe going back to the south side, he'll feel better and not get hurt so much. But
he would be. I said like Madrigal, I would entertain way more than Nicky Lopez because at least he has upside.
Yeah. Oh,
But Lopez has no upside. He's just another like you said. There's no need to rebuild the Royals, and there's no reason to bring in. We don't need two Lurie Garcias on the team.
All right, I got another trade proposal for you.
All right, go ahead, fire.
Nick Madrigal for Eloy Jiménez. Solving problems all over the place here.
I'll go a hard pass on that one.
We need a DH. Well, hey, I've got solutions here. You're just being too negative. I mean,
I know.
You're whining about your problems. I've got solutions. I mean, come on.
You're being such a whiny little schoolboy, and I'm trying to help you, and you're just dismissing me.
Yep. That's the history of this podcast, but
the problems I think this is the problems section. This is normally the old LaRussa Palooza section of this, but we got a right field problem, we got a second base problem, and now we got some really bad news that our all-star, arguably definitely top three, maybe best closer in the AL. Liam Hendriks is, out down for the count indefinitely while he deals with cancer.
Is it Hodgkin's lymphoma or non-Hodgkin's lymphoma?
Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, I believe.
Okay. I'm not sure if that's worse or better or how that all works out, but
yeah, I mean,
I know Rizzo had something, either one of those two originally, but
right.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a crazy story nobody saw coming. Obviously, both sides of town have had their baseball teams deal with cancer, and they come out on the right side of things. So certainly wishing the best for Liam and his family. It seems like a curable form of cancer. I'm not well versed in any of that. I don't know if you've seen or heard or know any prognoses or anything about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on age and health. And it's what my dad had, but my dad was unhealthy, and it eventually took his life. But he was older and unhealthy, and his body just couldn't sustain the treatments. I think in Hendriks' case, his outlook's probably pretty good because he's in good physical condition.
Yeah,
can probably handle the treatments. He eats pretty clean. I remember reading about his dietary habits and all that lends itself to beating cancer. So I think he's going to come out on the right side of it. Hopefully maybe he can get back to the team this year, but
really, that was the big picture. He's going to be okay. But that's the next question is, when could he possibly come back? Is it ridiculous to think he could come back at some point this year? Or is that reasonable? I mean, we've got a month and a half, 2 months before the season starts. Could he be back? Opening day seems fanciful, but halfway through the season, if things go really well, can you get him back?
Well, that's what the White Sox. That's what the White Sox do. They don't make any deadline trades. They just bring someone back from the IL. So he probably will come back, and they'll be like, "We got Liam Hendriks back."
That feels. Obviously everything has to go perfectly, but that feels, if things do go as well as everyone hopes, that seems a little bit realistic. That maybe in middle of the summer, late summer, trade deadline times, he might be able to come back. So
That's what how I always felt about it. If he was going to come back, like building stamina back up and arm strength and all that.
Well, and that's a whole nother side. Yeah. He beats cancer. Then how does he get back to being a Major League Baseball player? Like, how long will that take?
Yeah.
It's a little different for a reliever, I would think, than a starter, trying to build up arm strength, to survive.
Right.
6+ innings an outing, or maybe it's even more difficult for a reliever. I think I would guess they treat pitchers a little bit differently in spring training, whether they're relievers or starters, how long that process takes, or what they can do, how they can ramp up quicker or slower. But yeah, I think we're just I think all of Sox Nation, everyone can only hope for the best, but just don't have a whole lot of information to really know what to think, what the prognosis might be, or when you might return.
Yeah, I think, some of it too is just how, if he's not, everyone reacts different to treatments. He may not be having a ton of adverse side effects or anything. He may be able to, do some exercising and things like that to sort of like stay in shape. I mean, those are all like factors, and it's his business. He'll be back. He's a competitor. He'll be back when he can be back. But
I would actually think training would be a nice respite for him, while he's dealing with everything else. If he's
right.
physically able to, I'd think it'd be a mental break actually to be able to do his workouts and everything. And I'm sure he's super motivated to do all that. So that's another good point. Maybe he'll be ready. Maybe he'll be ready the moment the doctors say he can go. So I think I'm not a Sox fan, and we're usually pretty negative on this show in general, but I think optimism is the only way to approach that kind of situation. It sucks that it's happening, but you think it's going to be, you hope that it's going to be nothing but good news from here on out for Liam.
Yeah. Hopefully, hopefully we'll be able to, maybe he'll pop up in spring training to say hi or something if he's able to. That would probably, or at least pop up somewhere just to give us an update or something. But
that'd be nice.
But yeah, well, I mean, obviously everyone respects his privacy during this time. So, all right, well, there's not really much good news from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, we went from maybe the worst news to a little bit worse, a little bit less worse news. That's a weird way to transition to this, but do we go ahead and jump and make our asshole of the week, our first asshole of the week for 2023? I think it's got to be Mike Clevinger.
I mean, from consistency standpoint, we didn't let Trevor Bauer have his piece. We just, said, hey, this guy's asshole of the week for
several times asshole of the week. Trevor Bauer fits into a similar category with now Mike Clevinger. New signing for your White Sox. I forget the date he was signed, but signed for a 1-year deal, $12.5 million.
Yep. 8 million guaranteed, 4 million buyout thing.
A buyout for next year. So it'd be 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently though, before they signed him, they were unaware that he was under investigation for domestic violence and child abuse.
Yeah. I feel like
it's so weird that they wouldn't know about that. Nobody knew about that. So
the latest story, which was updated on 125 on ESPN, is the Padres knew. Obviously,
when did they know? While he was a Padre then. So I mean, that was last year. I mean, there's no way the White Sox couldn't have known if the Padres knew.
Apparently the Padres knew. They didn't obviously call the White Sox and say FYI.
But the White Sox are saying they didn't know.
That's MLB says the White Sox didn't know.
Okay, so I guess we're not gonna roast. We're not calling the White Sox assholes of the week because they didn't know. But should they have known? Is the question.
Well, I guess it goes through like when you have to ask players now. By the way, do you have any MLB misconduct? Like I don't know. I don't know what
there's a balance. It feels like MLB should have told them, but
yes,
if it's just if it's just an investigation, you're kind of convicting the guy. He wouldn't, obviously they wouldn't sign him. No one would sign him if they made a broad announcement that Mike Clevinger is under investigation. I'm sure there's the players union has fought for that right, not to have those things exposed, but at the same time, it fucks the organization. But so I guess that's why we're certainly not going to make the White Sox or Rick Hahn assholes of the week. But if these allegations are true, it is a slam dunk once again for another asshole of the week to be a fucking moron and abuses his girlfriend and even his daughter, 1-year-old daughter, or
allegedly he threw chew.
Yeah, like spit
on
juice.
her head, on her head or something.
Yeah.
Here's the main difference between this story and the Trevor Bauer story.
Yeah, there's a lot of differences, but
like the main is the Trevor Bauer story was filed with a police department.
Mm-hmm.
This story, this woman, this accuser has not ever filed anything with the police. Instead, she took to Instagram and contacted MLB,
mm-hmm.
which sounds, if we're playing both sides, sounds a little bit like a shakedown to me. But
we don't know the motive. We don't know the situation. Don't know everything about it, and that's why we're probably irresponsible by calling him Mike Clevinger asshole of the week before. But we're just a podcast. We call him an asshole, so get over it. But again, we're in reckless speculation mode, but there seems to be a pattern though. I mean, Mike Clevinger is a former asshole of the week. We know, he does not make the best decisions
exactly. And that's where the doubt comes in.
Right. He does not get the benefit of the doubt, I guess is the point.
Yeah, right.
Apparently he's, I've read in some places he's well known as a bad dude. I mean, it's no secret that he's a jerk, but whether he's actually abusing women and children is another question. But I don't know. It's just another gross thing. It's the last thing your White Sox needed after a tumultuous 2 years that kicked off with Tony La Russa being hired without your general manager knowing he was had another DUI. Your owner knew at the time, I guess, but now this comes up after you're trying to wipe the slate clean after that last 2 years of La Russa Palooza madness. You got your new manager trying to turn the page. This pops up out of nowhere. No one, people did not see this coming necessarily. So it's just a brutal way. And you don't even have Sox Fest. There's no positive vibes happening. It's got to be a frustrating experience to be a White Sox fan.
Liam Hendriks has cancer.
Yeah.
You don't know, like, what's our rotation? Now that's in question, where I thought it was like, all right, it's a pretty solid rotation, especially, with, if some
everyone's
of the,
healthy,
everyone's healthy. Yeah. It's a solid rotation with Clevinger, and now that's in question. So
what do you do then? What do you do with Clevinger? If you're Rick Hahn right now, I think you have to wait. You just
I don't
wait.
Yeah, and I don't think, like,
does he show his face at spring training? I mean,
I think he does.
Oh boy,
I don't know. Or I don't know if you just do they put him on like the Trevor Bauer program?
Well, he was officially suspended eventually. The team, I think, as far as I remember, the timeline of events was the team suspended him with pay. And then he eventually got suspended by Major League Baseball for it was supposed to be 2 years, but ended up being 150 games.
No, the team didn't suspend him. The MLB put him on that
leave. It was administrative leave or
administrative leave, so he would get paid.
The key is he got paid, but he could not.
Right.
Yeah. Again, that's a police investigation and a MLB investigation. So I'm thinking MLB is gonna have to do something one way or the other before spring training, and that's in 2 weeks. So I think there's going to be more news about this. I don't know how they wrap things up that quickly, or what they have to do to finish their investigation. But even if he's exonerated, I mean, this is always going to be in the back of everyone's head. It's just a fucking nightmare. I don't know, like, his first start at Sox Park. What's that scene going to be like? Even if somehow he's exonerated, and all of a sudden we've all been wrong all along, that he's a great guy, and we just were misled by whatever. So, don't they have to cut him?
I don't know.
If they cut him, here's the scenario as I understand it. If they cut him, they still have to pay him. Again, it's $12 million, or maybe it's just $8 million. Or no, I guess with the buyout, it would have to be the full 12.
I don't know. I don't know if there's a loophole in there because of the situation, but probably not. But I mean, do you just cut your losses and move forward? Like,
I think you kind of have to. I mean, but then what? Who's filling out your rotation? Are there free agents on the market still?
Well, now we're back to, Martin Davis or Davis Martin, whatever the fuck his name is, probably. Who's left? I mean, they did. I feel like they did sign, they did sign some guys to minor league deals. So I think, think they're hedging their bets right now.
Yeah, I think they have to.
But I don't like. I don't know. Up? Yeah, I just don't know. I just don't know what you do.
What would you do if you have to make a decision tonight on this podcast? I mean, I would lean towards cutting him and then figuring something out. Or do you deal with the PR nightmare and just say, hey, we've dealt with other shit. What we can deal with this?
I mean, if there was if there was a police report filed, no doubt, I would just be like, cut the dude.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. You didn't know, which I think is, I wonder if there's a loophole there. Is that information you should be allowed to withhold before someone is going to sign you? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Well, I think you asked a similar question that kind of goes down this same path when you posted one of our famous a-hole Twitter polls.
I
forget how did you write that up?
I wrote it up. I'm gonna paraphrase it because it's quite long, but it was, hey, the Dodgers are gonna cut Trevor Bauer. You're gonna be able to get him for the league minimum.
Because the Dodgers are paying the rest of his salary.
Yeah, so you're gonna get him for $750,000, right? $750,000. Do you sign him? And the answers were yes, it legitimizes 2023, or no, too much baggage. Oddly enough, I really thought it was going to be like 70-30, 75-25 no. It was 49 yes, 51 no.
Wow. And that was posted well before the Clevinger news came out.
Yeah, that was about 2 weeks before the Clevinger news.
Well, obviously, this is a small sample size, but that gives you a little bit of a barometer of how Sox fans might feel about a similar situation to a player that is on the roster with Mike Clevinger, which, to your point, there's no police report filed, so it's different on, like we said, different on many levels, but maybe it would be a little more palatable than Trevor Bauer even, which is almost 50-50 now. So I think obviously they have to wait. I think they wait on Clevinger, wait to make a decision. Hopefully this whole situation is forced MLB to expedite the process to figure out what they're going to do. And then it might take the decision right out of Rick Hahn's hands. But if that's not the case, it's going to be an interesting first day when pitchers and catchers report, let alone the first spring training game, and then opening day, and then potentially the first start for Mike Clevinger in a White Sox uniform.
So here's the other part that's interesting from the Padres' point of view. Is he pitched all of last year? She contacted MLB last summer.
Wow. And this has just come to light now.
Yeah.
Well, again, that's the same thing. Like MLB, and it's probably written in the collective bargaining agreement that the players fought for, is like this stuff, allegations can't come out until they're actually, vetted, because it hurts the player. Just like you said, it could be any kind of accusation against anybody for anything, but those can't come out immediately because they haven't been investigated yet. So it certainly, it's not like the Padres were going to suspend him the moment that happened. It's just a fucking tricky thing. But you would think somehow, if the Padres, this is what I'm confused about, how the Padres knew, but nobody else knew. Like if one major league team knows, then all major league teams should know at the same time, because they were all fighting, they're all vying for his free agent services. So
yeah, not the fair. Padres.
Well, that's the thing. If they knew about it and didn't tell anybody, that's a competitive disadvantage they're putting everyone else at. But
exactly,
maybe that shit happens all the time with, I guess, maybe
it could happen for health things they try to get.
Yeah, it's true.
Past them. We'll get into that more on in the whole healthy and unhealthy shortstops.
Yeah, well, where do I go from here?
I guess that leads into the. I mean, it's all about the off season, and I guess that leads into the White Sox off season grade, which perfectly timed right before we are ready to do this. We like, hey, it's about time to do this. The Athletic posted
their own grades,
their own grades. Franchise. And it was done by every beat reporter, everyone who covers each of their teams. And James Fagan went ahead and gave the White Sox a big fat F.
That seems like headline grabbing more than anything. It seems a little unfair. I could see if they hadn't signed Benintendi somehow, and the major free agent you signed was Clevinger, and this turned out, this news came out, I would definitely give a franchise an F for that. But you can't give them a complete failure if they got Benintendi. Although maybe the argument is Benintendi complicated your roster construction to the point where it didn't help you. Maybe that's his point. But
here's where I was with it. I wasn't that far from an F, because wow. I would have been giving them a D. Let's just say
I think that's closer to fair.
Let's just say nothing happens with Clevinger, right? This like Clevinger's status quo, he's signed, he's going to be part of our rotation. You got a solid rotation. You got a solid defender in the outfield, but you failed to address two of the glaring holes that have been on your roster for like 3 seasons now.
Yeah. We've done the same podcast, I feel, for the last 3 years.
Yeah, it's Groundhog Day tomorrow, but it's Groundhog Day on this podcast. Thank you.
Well played, sir.
And I'm, based on what happened with what's going on with Clevinger right now, I'm okay with the F. I'm not gonna come on here and say James Fagan overreacted, and it's more because of, if you take, like we said, Benintendi, solid signing. Clevinger, up until finding out this news, very decent never a bad 1 year contract. I might argue that from time to time. This one looks like a very bad 1 year contract at the moment, but okay. So, but again, the 2 same holes that have been on your roster since last season, at least, because you had Madrigal coming in the other season. But the 2 holes that have been on your roster since last season that needed to be filled are still not filled.
Yeah.
I mean, what the fuck, Rick? And okay, internal candidates. Is Oscar Colas ready? Maybe. Maybe not. This is the same organization that's always erred on the side of, well, we don't want to bring someone up too soon. We want them to get more reps at this level.
Him into the fire.
And now it's like, you're a right fielder. Maybe. I don't know. And then, you know what?
Sosa?
Does Rami Gonzalez, does he, and Lennon Sosa, because they've had some reps, do they make a somewhat of a step forward this year? Maybe, but why even risk it? Your window, we're back to the window conversation. It's closing.
Yeah.
And it's closing. It's on the side of closing quicker than staying open. It's on the side of closing than staying open. So, I don't know what to say, but I think James Fagan is on target with an F. Because I don't know how you leave. I mean, it's not to say there's not something else to happen through a trade or something, but at this point, it seems highly unlikely, but at this point, how those two, at least one of the two, give me one of the two, and right field seems like the one, because that one has been a hole for like 3 years. Second base, this is the second season of second base. This is the third season of saying we need a legitimate right fielder.
Well, I think again, I mean, it's out of left field, out of right field, however the joke is,
yeah.
I think. Sorry, these jokes are getting worse. This is a tough way to start the year.
It is a tough way to start the year. About talking about such a depressing winter offseason for the White Sox.
But the deeper you look into it, the more a trade is the only way to solve some issues, and it could solve multiple issues at the same time. And who that is, I don't know, but it doesn't. Obviously we're not hearing anything imminent. I'm almost wondering if Rick's going to roll the dice, go into, get the season off to a start, just hoping Romy and Sosa can, or whoever can actually just, stop, eat some innings in a way at second base, let Eloy show that he can stay healthy for a little bit, and, showcase him maybe, or I don't see a place for Eloy, I guess is my question. And although
I see, I get what you're saying, the more I
he's valuable at the same time.
I understand your point of view. Like, it's almost like he doesn't fit because it's too risky to put him in the outfield.
He's a DH.
He's a DH. But then you also have to deal with the fact of Grandal, who can't catch every day.
But here's the short-sighted part of my theory is Grandal's gone after this year potentially.
Yeah.
So
right.
That's a problem this year, but it's not necessarily a problem next year. But it just seems like he's the valuable asset, I guess, the enticing player to other teams potentially, that where you could get a legit second baseman,
or even a legit right fielder,
or perhaps. Right fielder. Yeah. So,
I do want to play a little bit of a devil's advocate though, on maybe why the Sox didn't make more moves in the offseason. And it's a common conversation. And I think we've done it multiple times in La Russa Palooza, and we actually counted the amount of games that Tony La Russa cost the White Sox last year.
Ouch.
And it was roughly, I think it was somewhere between 7 to 10 games we had calculated that La Russa actually cost the White Sox.
I don't remember an exact number, but
I think it was around. I think it was 7 for some reason.
That's a little bit high, but
I thought it was high. It's higher than because the number is like, hey, a manager is worth 5 games either way. I think that's the common phrase.
I think Ozzy actually said that once. So
yeah. So devil's advocate is, if the problem was the manager and you were 81 and you're going to get 5 to 10 games better without
unless
making
this manager is worse.
Well, yeah, true. Let's just. I'm playing the devil's advocate good side of this. I want to end on a high note, Smitty.
Okay, sorry, I'm crushing your dreams.
We started on a like okay note with Benintendi. Like,
it's getting worse.
This was an okay signing, and then everything just went straight into the toilet.
We totally fucked this up. We should have planned the show in reverse, so you'd be feeling better by the end of it.
Well, I'm trying to feel better. Yeah. So, if Grafal came on and made all the great statements,
let's say he's average, the complete average manager. That I think that's the way to.
You're still going to get 5 more wins then. Because,
that's what I'm saying. That's as positive as I can get on this.
So that's 86. That's 86. That's a playoff spot. That's probably a playoff spot.
Wow. All right.
It's a wild card spot. So all I'm saying is, we all know. And
Dare to dream.
Again, that's all I can do right now. All I can say is just go watch. If you haven't done it yet, I mentioned this before. Go to YouTube, watch the Tony La Russa press conference, and then watch the Pedro Grafal press conference and Rick Hahn's face, and it says it all right there. So if Rick's thinking, all right, I constructed a team to win, I just had a buffoon I had to deal with for 2 seasons. Let's see what happens now. I don't think it's the right way to approach it. Again, but I'm playing the devil advocate side. I'm sticking with my F, but maybe the F isn't really an F because Rick's like, fuck you. Look at this team
fuck you.
Yeah. Look at this team. They're gangbusters now because we got a fucking manager who's alive.
I think we need
not sleeping on the bench.
I'd like to see a live webcam of Rick Hahn's face right now. If he's smiling the same way he was at the Grafal press conference, or if he looks more like he did at the Tony La Russa press conference.
Well, I think it's what you say. You go Benintendi and he's like, yeah, Hendriks, Clevinger. Yeah. Eloy and Wright.
Man,
he didn't run that one by me before he said it out loud.
Well, that is it, I believe, unless you have anything else.
No, that's it. Look at us, professionals, a nice, concise Sox type thing.
Yeah, we're getting back in the saddle. It's been a while since we did a podcast. This is episode 17 of Sox type thing. We'll be back sometime next week with episode 118 of In the Hole, where we will give off-season grades to all of the other teams we follow. And I'll probably get some jabs in at the White Sox somehow, because that's what I do. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, you can find us on social media at Sox Type Thing and at Major League A-Holes. You can find us on the web at soxtypething.com and majorleagueaholes.com. You can find us on YouTube. And you can find these podcasts anywhere you'd like to find a podcast. So with that, I think you can declare
this podcast is over. Peace.
Peace.